Testing. Hello, hello. Alright. Shit, I noticed that my freaking mic here got disconnected. But anyway, hey guys, welcome back to another Blender live stream. I am your host Morgan Ozpin, and today we're going to be continuing on doing our wrestling animation that we've started ever since last year of March of 2024. I know it's been a long time since I've been working on this, but we are technically on the last action scene here. I just need to finish up the outlines and the colors, and with that being said, let's just jump into it, shall we? I haven't really been working on this ever since the last time we've streamed, because I was busy learning about Godot during the entirety of my summer. But we did make some of these outlines here during my break. So to sort of wrap everything up in the scene, we'll first hide a bunch of these shots here of this guy and where else? The chair as well. And let's maybe start making the outlines here at least. Okay, so let's make a new freaking layer here. I know it seems like my freaking channel right now is all over the place with me working on a game while also working on this animation. But I'm having so much fun in both that I can't just give up on one thing to focus on the other. So I am really spreading my time here between these two big projects. Oh, notice that the layer here is over here. Okay, wait. Shift S, cursor to selected. Okay. And let's move on to this side of the ring now. Alright. So I've titled this stream My Brain Hurts from Coding, because I was supposed to start the stream earlier today, but then I noticed that when I was but then as I woke up, I decided to just do a quote unquote quick little skim of my Godot project that I worked on yesterday, and I just had this certain urge to improve upon my characters' animations for my game, and I thought, oh, just character animations, that would be a quick thing to get running on my game. You know, since I already do animations in Blender, I don't think it's that much of a headache to implement some animations into Godot, right? Wrong. Well, the thing about freaking Godot is that you basically have to code when your animations are gonna play in your game. And that involved me like messing around with some velocity variables and creating more enums in my scripts that made my brain hurt even more. And I had to like question myself of whether I should stick to making more if statements or making a state machine just for my animations and stuff on this one game. And oh boy, for the entire afternoon I was just trying to implement an animation in my game wherein whenever the main character is about to like fly up in the air, there's this like one transition animation that plays for about like a fifth of a second. And for some reason I can't like get that to work for the longest time. But luckily for me, I got it to work. And after working on this one little animation, I figured I should probably focus less on getting my game to look nice and focus more on like getting my game's main mechanics to work, like the spawning system and the combat system. Well, I want to try to get that fixed first before I do my animations, because the animation, oh boy, it's freaking a headache. And for some reason, every time I just every time I work on one piece of software, I just sort of start losing motivation once I move on to like another piece of software. Like when I was like trying to make my animations for my game, I was so into the Godot mindset that when I finally went back to Blender to adjust some of the actual animations for my game, I just felt like this sense of looseness, I guess. How do I say this? It's like you got so used to the Godot environment that going back to using another piece of software felt like you're losing all of the momentum you have. I don't know, it's like it's kind of like training your mind to focus so much into game development, but then once you start using your mind on different things like making animations for your game, you sort of feel like you are a fish out of water, in the sense that, oh, I'm supposed to do animations now instead of games. That's I don't know if that's just a me thing, but I can only like do like be motivated to do one task per session, I guess. If I ever want to switch from one aspect of a thing I'm doing to the next, I want there to be like a break, I guess. Okay, hold on, let me just make a few adjustments here. Anyway, let me just go ahead and finish up this animation. Anyway, for my game, we're doing pretty much we're making good progress with the space shooter I've been working on. I am currently almost halfway done. I got Helibird, the main character, the playable character, to run almost as I intended him to be. And I've also created almost all the enemies for my game. I just need to make one more, which I don't think would be too complicated of a task to create. Then once I'm done with that, I will make the spawning system and the combat system for my game. The combat system I think is easy to create. It's just maybe the spawning system that I have to sort of plan a little bit more, because I want enemies to spawn into my game. The more, in a way that they spawn more, the more time you spend inside a round of the game. But how do I tell my computer to do that in code? Oh my god. You see, the thing about coding is that it really does physically hurt me in a way that it actually gives me a headache every time I start thinking about it. I'm like, oh, well, how do I freaking get these variables to run the way I want it to, or how do I remember these if statements all the way throughout the entirety of my project. As you start to think more and more, you actually physically get this like headache in your in your brain. Oh my god. Because I still remember the first time I started coding my first ever game, which was Gas Frenzy. The game I just made like a few weeks ago. And when I was like coding the game, I remembered feeling so tired and I guess depressed in a way, but not really. I guess more so tired by the amount of thinking I had to do just to get this script to run perfectly in my game. But I eventually pushed through, thank God, and I have to ask myself if I'm alright, because now I am making another game that's just as much of a headache, if not more than a headache than the one I did beforehand. I need to get rid of the passport too here. There it is. Alright. Okay, so far it's in the same plane. Oh, hi, Mr. Stories. What's up? Currently working on a Blender project right now. Godot stuff will resume maybe 2 days from now, I think. I just need to work out some of the enemy stuff before I start coding again in Godot. Oh, hello, low poly bro, what's up? Guessing you guys are here for some Blender stuff, but what I'm doing right now is not really the most conventional way to use Blender, because I'm using it to make a 2D animation. I'm also using Blender right now to make some assets for a game I'm developing. A game that I'm developing to just learn about Godot and its features. But it's not a 3D game, it's more so like a 2D game with assets that was rendered in Blender in a way. It's actually 2D, I think. If you're talking about the model, it is 3D, but the thing that's actually going to be shown here once I rendered everything it's going to be this grease pencil that I'm laying out. Alright, let's make all of this. There we go. You try Unreal Engine and Unity. Well, I haven't used Unreal Engine before, but I do use Unity sometimes to make some 3D VRM models for a VTuber software called VC Face. But other than that, I don't use Unity anymore to make anything. I did used to make a game there once. A game wherein I followed the tutorial made by Game Maker's Toolkit. It's basically just a Flappy Bird clone. And I made it just to get my feet into game development for the first time. And as much as I like Unity as a game engine, there is some things that just sort of rubs me the wrong way. Like the fact that Unity is much larger as it's a very large program compared to any of my other apps here in my computer. And I'm using a laptop, by the way, to do everything from streaming right now to using Blender. So I want something that's like very lightweight and shit. And Unity for me just feels too bloated of a software to use. Plus they came out with this one freaking sour news wherein they have like they now have this runtime fee for developers who are using Unity to make some popular games, and I don't want to be stuck on that payment method once my games do eventually go big. So I switched to Godot. I'm learning animation right now. Just posted my first animation. I tried rigging, but it's too hard. Instead I took a rigged Mixamo character. I'm learning inverse kinematics, forward kinematics right now. Oh wow. Well, I mean, if you already have set up a rig, and the rig is now moving your character, you technically already learned what forward kinematics is. Inverse though is I guess I mean, rigging is not that hard of a thing to learn. Maybe it could be a hard thing to master though, once you get into learning how to weight paint your freaking meshes. But the good thing about Blender is that you can automatically rig your character through the automatic, what's it called again? It's like you can select your entirety of your character, then select your rig here, then you control P it, I think, and it can automatically like give your mesh some automatic weights, and through clicking on that, it will make it so that your model moves almost exactly to the way your armature moves. Maybe there are a few errors, but so far I am happily satisfied with how automatic weights are applied in Blender. Alright, let me now paint up some of the textures I've created here. Oh boy, okay. By the way, speaking of Blender news, I noticed that for the latest 4.5 release, they finally transitioned from OpenGL to Vulkan. And I'm not very informed with how renderers work, but I heard that the Vulkan renderer makes it so that your renders are now much faster to render in the 3D viewport. I think that's nice. Freaking Vulkan. Cause I've been like learning how to, as I was like learning how to code for games, I also stumbled upon a guy named Cherno, or Cherno, that talked about how to make like game engines from scratch, and through his tutorial series on making game engines, he talked about OpenGL and Vulkan and how that's being used to create like the viewports for most game engines right now, and even like programs like Blender, who for the longest time used OpenGL. But now that we are in Blender 4.5, they've recently changed it so that now we are under the Vulkan framework, or the Vulkan renderer, and they say there's gonna be much better improvements from here on out. That's nice. Where is this going? All right. Anyway, I like to talk about my game for a bit here. And by the way, when I talk about my game, this has nothing to do with the project that I'm working on right now. This is a completely different project where I'm making like a 2D animation for my YouTube channel. The game that I'll be talking about is the one that I'm working on behind the scenes, and on my last stream, on my last Godot stream, wherein I messed around with Godot for a few hours. I think I'm starting to get the hang of coding in a game engine like Godot. Because back then I remembered I would think about how much I would like think about doing stuff like if statements and putting variables into my scripts and wondering whether or not they can work for the majority of the time. And as I think more and more about this, my head starts to freaking bloat with so much useless information that pretty much disturbs me and haunt me for the rest of the day. But now that I'm this far into my Godot journey, I still do write some bad code, but it never really disturbs me anymore because I've just grown so used to writing bad code. And plus, I think I've learned enough to know where I should go to look for answers. There are now like a few creators I rely on to review about the features of Godot, like Coco Dev and Game Worm? Is it like Devworm, I think? To me, those are like, I guess, the two creators I look to if ever I want to learn more about how to script my stuff correctly in GDScript. And right now, I do have a plan for what I can do with Godot in the future. Because I've been reading some of the comments you guys have been leaving. You have been leaving on my videos, and there was this one guy that talked about how it was in my The Art of Making 3D VTubers video. One guy left a comment saying that, oh, I want to get into freaking making 3D VTubers, but the thing that's making me not want to do that is the fact that it requires me to use Unity. And for the longest time, that really sat with me for a bit, because I thought to myself, oh, there must be like a way for people to make 3D VTubers without having to use Unity, right? And the first thing I thought about was, you know, maybe Godot has like a VRM exporter in their project settings or something, or in their add-ons. Maybe someone developed an add-on in Godot that will help creators make VRMs in their freaking game engine. And I looked into it, and as I was searching through the asset library of Godot, I found someone who was developing a VRM exporter for Godot, and I thought to myself, oh, that's really nice. And I'm thinking to myself, maybe I can create a art of making 3D VTuber models too, if I can learn about this one add-on in Godot. Because I feel like when it comes to most of my audience here, people like it when things are open source and free, and Unity is not gonna cut out. It's not gonna cut out for most people here. So I decided maybe I should make another version of the art of making 3D VTubers, wherein it's really 100% open source. It's 100% made with open source software. I think that'd be pretty fun, or pretty interesting to make. Okay, so created this little thing, that little thing. We also need to make a thing here. Okay, let's see this in action. I'll just hide the color layer here for now, just to see if everything works. Alright, let's go. Oh, there we go. By the way, there's some lines here that's cutting out because I have like a freaking ring to keep track of, and this has a Z index that's much higher than that of the ring. So to make up for it, I made this little sort of dirty workaround where I just don't paint the lines that's supposed to be behind the ropes. So let's see this in action. Okay, climb up. Alright, nice backflip, 10 out of 10. Alright, so we need to now work on some other stuff here. Okay. This one is next. I don't. Let me see where this goes. All right. Maybe after this one frame, I'll focus on. Maybe adjusting the movement of my rig. See. Yep, okay. I'll hide the Buckneck Stadium here for now. Alright. Alright. go. Let's make a stroke here. And let's start stroking the shit out of this, like so. Okay. Oh. Wrong layer. Oh, wrong button. Let's rotate this. It can be like around there. Okay. And let's adjust some of the strokes here. Okay. Sorry, I just had to check on my phone. Alright. Stroke here, stroke here, stroke here. You know, some of the things that's helping me learn how to develop games right now, or at least some of the tutorials or creators that's helping me right now to develop my game, is this one guy named Game Maker's Toolkit. He did a video wherein he talked about the 100 games that help him learn how to become a better game dev. And it's just so interesting seeing how games are able to keep players engaged for the longest time, ever since the start of the video game industry. And there's some unique ideas that Mr. Toolkit gave me. That helped me understand how to better design my game. Like, for example, in freaking Pac-Man, what makes players so engaged in the game is that you'll be in one state where you'll be like being chased down by freaking ghosts and all, but you can also get these power-ups where for a temporary moment of time you will be able to chase the enemies that have been chasing you for the longest time. It creates a sort of like dynamic like interaction between you and the game, wherein it's not just a game about running for your life, but also trying to catch some people if ever you get the correct power-up. And like, okay, that's interesting. I can try to implement that in my game by maybe creating like a way for me to not to make my player more vulnerable for a temporary moment of time. And that's when I got the idea of maybe adding some debuffs into my player whenever they hit like a certain projectile that's coming up to them. Something like that. So now my speed shooter is not just about killing enemies, but more so about killing and also running away from them if ever you are experiencing a debuff. So that's why I'm getting so excited in making games, you know. Speaking of games, I am recently playing through the majority of the Metroidvania games under the Castlevania franchise. I recently replayed Harmony of Dissonance. Did I replay? Yeah, I replayed also Circle of the Moon. I've replayed Dawn of Sorrow for the Nintendo DS and Portrait of Ruin. And just now I've recently completed again Symphony of the Night. And as I was playing it, I had to like compare this game to Harmony of Dissonance and wonder why this game is much better than its GBA counterpart, which is Harmony of Dissonance. Yo, what's up? Hey guys, my sister just went inside the room. And I think when it comes down to it, I just think the thing that puts Castlevania Soten much higher in the list for me when it comes to the best Metroidvania games compared to Harmony of Dissonance is the fact that the game felt, I guess, more polished than the GBA Castlevania. Because with HOD, you know, the one thing I guess that makes Soten much better than Harmony is its graphics, of course. But then again, you can't say the same thing for Aria of Sorrow. So why is? Because I think Aria of Sorrow is actually leagues ahead of Soten in a way. So why is Harmony of Dissonance so low on my list when it comes to my favorite GBA Castlevania Metroidvanias? Well, I just think that, you know, that Harmony of Dissonance is just a very redundant game. It tries to be Castlevania Symphony of the Night too hard. That by doing so, it just started. By doing so, your fan base would just can't help but compare these two games together and see which one is better. And the thing about the Harmony of Dissonance is that it's pretty much a light version of Symphony of the Night. Like with Symphony of the Night, you have all these freaking swords and shields and spells to work with. But with with Harmony of Dissonance, you only get like these magical books that you can equip. It's like that. I guess it's sort of reminiscent of the card system in Circle of the Moon, but it's much more simpler, I guess. And I guess I can praise Harmony of Dissonance for not adding some RNG into the way you acquire these spells. But I think I would rather have an RNG game with many ways to combat your enemies, rather than to only give me a very simple combat system with no RNG whatsoever. I guess that's why Ori of Sorrow really stands out to me as a game that rivals Soten's qualities. Because even if I don't like the fact that the souls in Ori of Sorrow is acquired basically by luck, you at least have like you at least get like a different experience every time you play a new playthrough of Ori of Sorrow in a way. Anyway, if you guys want me to play Ori of Sorrow, I think I'll try to I can maybe try to play that at some point in this channel. Maybe I'll just like lock the audio if ever things get too iffy for YouTube's copyright system. Anyway, okay, so we got this here. Let's now make a anyway, going back to freaking Castlevania Symphony of the Night. On my recent playthrough, I encountered again the optional boss named Galamoth, which is the boss in the floating catacombs of the upside down castle. And I tackled the boss again just to figure out if there are any better ways to tackle this boss, and what I found online is that if you equip both a shield rod and a Alucard shield together, and you attack the enemy with a shield rod, a sort of animation plays out that would not only damage your enemy but also like heal you in a way, and the damage that you're giving to the enemy is pretty much broken. Like I tried this strategy on the Galamoth fight and pretty much insta killed the boss in just a few seconds. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? And I also tried the same strategy on trying to defeat Dracula. And Dracula pretty much came down in just a few seconds as well. And I remember the first time I ever tried to fight Dracula in that game, it took like a couple of tries to defeat, but I pretty much defeated this guy in one try. Anyway, I'm sorry if any of you guys are born before the prehistoric era, I guess, because I'm talking about some old games here right now. And heck, they're even older than me in a way. But I just decided to play some retro games one day, and the one that came up to my radar was freaking Castlevania. You know. So if ever you guys just want to play something new, but you can't find anything that interests you in the App Store or in the Steam you can just try to play some retro games on definitely legal hardware if you can find one. Wink, wink. And you'll realize that some of these old games still hold up to this day. As for retro games that I guess that I would suggest to you guys, there is Fire Emblem for the GBA. I think that's a pretty good game that you guys can try. There's also Sonic Advance 2 for the GBA. What else is there? There's also any of the Donkey Kong Country games. Those are also pretty good. Especially Donkey Kong Country 2. I think that's when the series peaked, in my opinion. But the original Donkey Kong Country and its second sequel, which is Dixie's Double Trouble, is also a pretty good game. What else is there? Oh, and there's also Harvest Moon. Harvest Moon Friends of Mineral Town for the GBA. And I guess also any of the Harvest Moon games for the DS is also good. But then again though, I did hear that Stardew Valley pretty much does what Harvest Moon does, but better. So if you want some Harvest Moon experience, some modern Harvest Moon experience, go play Stardew Valley, I guess. Now, how I got into playing retro games is pretty much how most, I guess, Filipinos come into getting to learn how to get into retro games, because I think back then Pokemon Go just came out to the public. And how I got into retro games was that one day my cousin brought a Nintendo 3DS into one family reunion, and in the Nintendo 3DS he brought, there was Pokemon Pokemon Omega Ruby in it. And when I saw him play the game, I was like, yo, freaking, is this how Pokemon is played? I'd like to go catch Pokemon and train them and battle with them. Commit acts that PETA might not enjoy. Where do I begin? And, you know, at first I thought, okay, maybe I should ask my mom and dad to buy me a freaking Nintendo 3DS, but I looked at the price tag and I figured, oh, maybe that's definitely not going to happen, because my parents are not into video game consoles at all. Although they will have us, they will buy like laptops and phones for us, but game consoles, nah. If it doesn't help me with my homework, then it's not gonna be a thing for them to buy. So I tried to look for other ways, and what I found is, I guess, the second best way to play Pokemon, which is through it's through the E word, the EM word. I can't really explain to you guys what the E word stands for, but just so you know, it's not. It's definitely something that is questionably legal, I guess. Anyway, I downloaded this specific software that I can't name on stream because of reasons. and I played Pokemon Emerald with it, and Pokemon Emerald, to me, I guess, is technically my first ever retro game I played. Pokemon Emerald? It's like it's a Pokemon game that's like set in the Hoenn region. It's basically Pokemon. It's a Pokemon game, and with like sprite art and stuff. But anyway, that was like my first ever game played using the E, the software that starts with the letter E. So I figured, oh, I can play some old Pokemon games with this one software that starts with the letter E. So at first I thought that the software is only made to play some Pokemon games, some old Pokemon games with it. But then I thought, but then I started to learn more about what the software can do, and it turns out not only can it play Pokemon games, but it can also play some other retro games as well for the GBA, like the ports of Donkey Kong Country series for the GBA, the Super Mario Advance series. What else is there? The Link to the Passport for the GBA. Fire Emblem, the Castlevania series, and from then on, it's just like I just came to realize that what I have now on my phone, because the software is basically something I can carry on my phone. This thing on my phone now is actually a thing that can play any freaking game that's under the sun, if I know where to find the right files. And that's basically how I got into learning how to, or at least that's how I learned to love retro games. And in a way, I guess it's also my first introduction to Nintendo games. And from there, I played Metroid, Castlevania, Donkey Kong. What else is there? I guess I played almost every major Nintendo IP out there right now. Except for maybe Star Fox. I don't know where to begin when it comes to the Star Fox series, as well as maybe the F-Zero series. I mean, I know there's an SNES. Those games are pretty much available in the N64 and SNES. But I don't know, I guess in my opinion, I'm not really into the games that are in those software, so hence I never really played any game under those consoles, except for maybe Super Metroid. But that was only because I noticed that the game, but that was only because I was very familiar with the franchise in the GBA that I decided to play Super Metroid in the SNES. But Star Fox and F-Zero is just games I don't really have any interest in playing right now. By the way, as I was like looking into which IPs Nintendo own, I noticed that Bayonetta was one of those freaking games that they own. And I'm like, Bayonetta? The freaking kinky looking game that I see they see the Game Grumps play once? It doesn't feel like a Nintendo game. And I realized, oh, it's a game that was acquired by Nintendo from, I think, was it Atlas or something? I don't know, but it's weird seeing like all these kid-friendly mascots that Nintendo owns, and then there's just Bayonetta. And by the way, I haven't played any Bayonetta games yet, but I heard it's like the Devil May Cry sort of hack and slash game, I guess. Pretty fun. You see, the thing I like about retro games, the more I play them, is that they're pretty short, they're very simple, their mechanics are easy to understand, and they actually have an ending to them that you can finish. Compared to most games right now, you're like... Okay, wait, hold on, am I in the right? Oh my god, I'm not even in the right freaking frame here. Okay. I can work on this one frame first before we move on to the other ones. But anyway, what I have a problem with most modern games right now is that most of them feel too larger than life to be actually playable in under one sitting. Compared to like GBA games, wherein I mean they're technically long, but they're not like ridiculously long, in which you dedicate your life to the game. I don't know. I guess I'm just. It's the only games right now that I guess the modern video games that I'm exposed to right now are ones that are being advertised in the Google Play Store. So I have no idea how games are like in like the AAA industry right now, or in the PC environment. But to me, like, games just feel too large to finish, I guess. And I like games that are very simple and straight to the point. Games that actually respect my time. Alright, let me just go ahead and paint all of this shit up. I don't know, is that a boomer take? I feel like it's a boomer take. Maybe I should expose myself more to some modern games that are not just some phone game you can download in the App Store or something. Anyway. Oh wait, is my head too tilted, or is it just... Okay. Ugh, right. Okay, let's make this, alright. Okay, let's move away from the topic of video games, because I want to now talk about freaking Squid Game Season 3. Because I haven't heard of any news about Squid Game for the longest time until my little brother came up to me and said, "Yo, Morgan, you know there's freaking Squid Game Season 3 right now?" And the next thing you know, he's now making his way up to my room to turn on the TV, because it's the only room in the house that has like the TV in here that can play Netflix. And he pretty much just binge watched the entire show from episode 1 to 6. And Squid Game Season 3 was good, I guess. I think I pretty much agree with people when they say this is not like the best season of freaking Squid Game. Hello. I felt pretty bored whenever the freaking show cuts to the detective trying to find the island and shit, and it seems to be building up to something new, but it just doesn't. I know, I guess once I watched Squid Game, I just went all monkey brain and thought, oh, when will the game start, and all that shit. Because to me, I think the story of this wasn't really that good compared to seasons 1 and 2. Because everyone that I cared about pretty much died in the first few episodes of season 3. And I guess the final game wasn't that exciting, I guess. I'll say this. Although the first 2 games were pretty exciting though. People seem to hate the jump rope game for some reason, but that was pretty fun to watch. Although I think the one criticism I have with this one season is that there's no Thanos. Where the frick is Thanos? Yeah, I know he died, but I miss Thanos. Where's my drug dealing son of a bitch? I need them to say some crazy shit. But yeah. At least with season 2, it felt very fun to watch. Like, we have a lot of these characters you care for, while there are also some characters that are like just so over the top that you can't help but meme about them on social media. But season 3 was just, I guess, depressing, I guess. Beep beep. Let's make. Oh, that's not right. But anyway, at least the good thing that came out of this one session of freaking this freaking binge watch along with my brother is that I caught a glimpse of what the recent outings are on Netflix, and I noticed that there's this one show called K-pop Demon Hunters that I wanna go and watch. And you might be wondering, oh, Morgan, are you like us? You're looking forward to K-pop Demon Hunters? Isn't that like for K-pop stans? Are you like a K-pop stan yourself? And I'm like, no, just that I looked at the art style of this one series or this one movie and I thought, wow, this looks pretty creative and colorful. And you know, I'm not expecting the most deepest of stories coming out of this one freaking film, but I do want to try and watch that just to see how the animators would go about animating this film. Surprisingly, this is made by Sony Pictures, the same studio that made Into the Spider-Verse, so let's see if this holds up. Its animation quality. Okay, let me just print this. Okay. Alright, notice like a freaking drawing thing is happening here. Oh wait, the date. Oh shit, I think I messed up the coloring of this. Ah shoot, wait. I gotta adjust this real quick. Okay, there we go. Then let's rearrange everything here. Okay. Okay. Let's go back to the 3D viewport. Add the freaking dope sheet here. Okay. Okay, this time let's make sure these this 3D cursor is aligned with the outline here. Like so. Alright. Then let's make some strokes. Let's paint a little bit some blue here. Alright. Just some of the freaking fill colors here. And let's check, see if this is in line. Yep, it's definitely in line. Okay, let's make another stroke here. Okay, I wanna transition this talk to a thing I'm having a problem with right now. Because earlier today I wanted to go ahead and bike around the city just to get a little bit of a workout routine started in the morning. But then I look at my freaking bike and I noticed that the freaking back wheel was detached from the main frame of the bike. And then I remembered why this was the case, because as I did my last biking session like a few days ago, I was about to like enter my house when all of a sudden this bike just my bike just suddenly threw its back wheel off the main frame and just started like hanging from the main frame by a single piece of metal. And I had to ask myself, wow, this is like the fifth or the 10th time that my bike broke this past month. Because for the longest time I noticed that this bike just keeps getting like flat tires or freaking getting its chain entangled every time I try and use it. And it's not like I'm like going anywhere far or anything. I sometimes just go around my neighborhood and bike. and every time I just use this bike, it always gets broken or something. And I had to ask myself, what the frick is wrong with this bike? And as I woke up this morning and noticed that this bike was not working as intended, I was like, okay, this has to be something I can fix, right? I mean, it just detached itself. And not to mention that my bike does have a mechanism that can let you easily detach tires from the main frame, so maybe I just have to reattach it again. So I tried doing that, and for some reason this spring lock mechanism in my bike just wouldn't like get this thing to get reattached. And I was like sweating and all because the garage that I'm using to fix this bike didn't have any air conditioning. So I'm like getting pretty pissed off about this freaking bike not working. And in the end I just sort of just like gave up and decided to do a morning run. Because my god, maintaining bikes is like a freaking chore, I guess. And you know, I did own a bunch of bikes before, but I never experienced any issues with them, or at least issues that are that are occurring this often. So this bike must be like some kind of bad bike or something. But then again, this is a mountain bike we're talking about, and the bikes I used before were just like foldable bikes, which to me are like much lower quality compared to a mountain bike. And you know, a mountain bike is supposed to withstand like tough terrain, right? And for some reason this bike that I've only used to go around my neighborhood is now breaking apart every so often. Thank God bike repairmen do exist here in this part of the world. As well as cheap prices, so fixing this bike isn't really as expensive as one might think. It's just that the time it takes to fix these bikes is really a time waster, I guess. Oh, that's my bib for my run. I'll be doing on July 6th. By the way, guys, I'm attending a run. A run later on the early start of July, I'll be running somewhere in an official run race. It's gonna be like 10K, and my mom and my brother is going to be joining it, and I've been training for this race ever since. Right now I think my pace is around like 5:24 or something like that. I don't use a watch, but I do try to keep track of my distance through Google Maps on my phone. And I think the time and distance pretty much checks out. I have like a freaking pace that's under like 5 minutes 30. And I'm wondering if I can push it to a 5:15. Anyway. I'm starting to enjoy running more than biking, because biking is also a play between you and the bike being able to sustain itself for the majority of your workout. Also, running is much more gratifying to me compared to biking because you burn much more calories in one running session. Granted, I sometimes don't have the energy to stream once I start running. But your body sort of rewards you more often with dopamine that makes you all feel good and something and all that. As I, try to train for this run race I had, it sort of reminded me of when I was a little kid and I was joining my first ever triathlon. I might wonder, oh, you used to be a triathlete, Morgan? And well, technically, yeah, I guess. But it's for like it was like a very long time ago when I was like a little kid, and there was this one organization called Alaska that holds a race every year called the Iron Kids Triathlon, wherein you you swim like not even 500 meters, like 200 meters, then bike like 10 kilometers and run like 2 kilometers in a certain age group. It's not really a very intense triathlon, but it's still a triathlon, I guess, in a sense of the word. But anyway, this specific run race sort of reminded me of when I used to join the specific race back then called the Iron Kids, and I would remember that there would always be these very competitive kids that are like treating this race as if it's like life and death to them. Because during these races, I do find some people who are technically like tiger parents, I guess. In the sense that they really want their kids to achieve, and if they don't, they will smack them in the face with a belt or something. So these kids were very competitive, and they treated the sport as if it's the Hunger Games or something. So, and I don't know whether or not they like what they're doing or not, but it's like, hey, it's we're just having fun here, trying to compete in this race. You don't need to be all too serious about it. And you know, these kids are also you know, treating it as if it's a fun thing for them. It's just that whenever you try to meet their parents, it's always like a different story to them. Like, oh my god, my kid is going to get into college if he wins this specific triathlon. It would be the best thing for his future career. And right now, looking at it, I think that's like I guess a very toxic thing to get your kids to teach. I mean, I guess it's great that you teach your kid about the essence of competition in real life. But like if you beat them in the head with it for a very long time, you do kind of put them in a very tense situation where in every waking moment in their life is a competition. Like, could you imagine, like, if you just like waking up every morning just wondering what the next workout would be, and instead of having fun trying to exercise every morning, you're just always in that competitive state where you're not really enjoying the thrill of just having to work out. Rather, you're always training for what's next in store, you know? Never being like happy for what's happening really in the present moment, and rather just waiting for what's to come in the future. I always wonder what these kids are doing right now. I'm actually curious right now. Hold on. I want to search up these very famous kids back in the day that I think I once met in an Iron Kids run, or an Iron Kids triathlon. Let me see. They are called, I don't know if I should be say their names, but they were like poster kids for Alaska at one point. They were called like the Bourdains or something. Hang on. Bourdain. Let me meet the Bourdain sisters. Oh, here we go. Yeah, the Bourdain sisters. With the sign blazing bright and the crowd excitedly cheering the races on, it was the perfect day for a race in this beautiful Cebu. The occasion was the Alaska Iron Kids Triathlon, and for one extraordinary family of racers, the event would be nothing less than bittersweet. Wow. Yeah, I kind of remember these kids being a big part of the race back then. They were pretty much, I guess, in my age group, I guess. And I did meet them once. But it's not like we became friends or anything. It's just like a one meet and greet. I wonder where are they right now? Hold on, I want to see what are the Bourdain sisters up to right now. Bourdain sisters. All of the articles I'm seeing here is from 2016. Are there any recent news of them? Hold on. I'm searching for DuckDuckGo. Let's see what Google has to say. Oh wow, what's this? Bourdain 14 looms as next track star. No, this is a 2017 article. Are there any new stuff from them? This is from, I don't know when this is from. Where is this? Oh, this is this the younger one or is this the? No, no, no. I know this is from 2016. What the frick? Where the frick are they right now? Hold on. Borlane Sisters. Sorry guys, I just stopped the stream just to know who these fellow runners, fellow triathletes are up to right now. Any news or from them? 2016, 2021. 2016, 2015. Yep, I don't see any any public news about them. Yeah, I just kind of wonder where do you go? Where do you jump off after like having achieved so much success in, especially in the sports business? Where do you go from there? Because to me, I think it's sort of reminiscent of how like child actors transition to becoming adults in their lives. Because unless you really like what you're doing and what you're doing is not caused by like some of your parents' decisions, you're gonna start acting immature once you like go towards your to your later years as an adult. Or maybe you just don't know what to do once you reach adulthood, because you are too focused on like achieving this one path that your parents like set up for you. I always wondered that. What the frick are they up to? What do kid athletes do once they get old, you know? Because I'm not gonna lie guys, even though I haven't achieved the same things that they did, I did technically have a parent that had the same attitude to sports as these families here, and it does feel like that's this same situation where I'm at right now, wherein I'm like, okay, we trained so hard to become like these athletes, but where do you go from here now that you've achieved that? It's not like you can like train this hard for the rest of your life. Your body does have to break down at some point. So where do you go from here? Because to tell you the truth, guys, I did have parents that also wanted me to become like an athlete when I get old. But I didn't like where I was at when it came down to it. I mean, I appreciate sports now, but it's not because I wanted it to become like a job for me. It was because it was something that made me feel good. It made me confident in my well-being physically, and way also mentally, because by working your body out physically, you get like a clear picture of who you really are, like inside, I guess. But my dad specifically was also like treating sports differently, in a way that he considers sport as like a life thing. not in a but not in a life lesson as in, oh, it's sports is all about you know, improving your your mental state or becoming a better person. Instead, he treats sport. He thinks that everything in life is a sport, in which he says that, oh, everything is a competition for you, and you should treat everything as such. And to me, I think that's a very black and white way of thinking about things. To think everything is a competition. I mean, sure, we do have like businesses and stuff that does require you to be more competitive in the work that you do and in life. But there's also room for like cooperation, for other people to come ahead and help you out, and vice versa for you to help other people out. And it's like, I guess, best to think of life more of as a way for you to cooperate with other people rather than for people to compete with each other. I guess what I'm trying to say here is that life is technically a sport, but it's a team sport, I guess. There needs to be like a team with you in order for you to actually have a competitive edge towards the things you want to do in life. Anyway, that's my thing. That's my perception of what sports can do to a person. That's why I'm still technically doing whatever whatever training I did in the past, which is, you know, like do 5k, do 10k, but this time it's like under my own like decision now. I make the decision when to run 5k, when to do some arm workouts, when to do some when to even add some workouts. It's like I haven't done any biking stuff when I was a kid, and it's only now when I own a bike that I finally decided to maybe start training how to bike long distances. And now the longest I've ever biked right now is, I think, a 70-kilometer bike from a 70-kilometer bike that goes around the entirety of the National Capital Region here in Manila, Philippines. So yeah, I still like to do sports. It's just that I'm not that serious about it anymore. Alright, I need to freaking paint this up. Alright, hold on. Let me just close some of these tabs here on my freaking desktop right now. Oh boy. Okay, let's paint this up. You know, since we're in the topic of sports, I wanna maybe expand on my experiences being a triathlete when I was when I was a kid. Oh my god, it was, I guess, if you guys ever like did a triathlon before, you would understand it when I say that it's much harder than you get this sort of feeling whenever you try to transition from the swim part of the race to the bike part of the race, because I don't know why, but every time I start to go to that transitory period of the race wherein you pick up your bike after a long swim, when you're in that state, you sort of feel very dizzy or fatigue. You get this sudden burst of fatigue for some reason whenever you transition from one part of the race to the next. So from the swim to the bike and the bike to the run. Especially in the bike to the run, there's like it's like for some reason your legs just pretty much gave up on you by the time you start to once you got off your bike and start running. That's when I think it's like the worst part of the race, is when you start running, I guess. The biking part is not that intense, I must say, because biking is pretty leisurely, in my opinion. It's a pretty leisurely part of the race, in my opinion. But the bike to run aspect of it, oh my god. At once did I think that running was ever the highlight of any triathlon that I've attended. Excuse me, where is this coming from? It's a GP layer thing here, but I don't see any layers. This is strange. Why do I have this extra layer here? Oh well, I'll keep it just in case it's linked to something I don't see right now. But other than that, triathlons are pretty fun. Although a habit I have whenever I start these kinds of races is that for some reason I never really go for the water stations in these triathlon, or even in any race wherein a water station is available. I just keep running, I guess. No matter how first I am, I never go for any water in these races. Or I guess I do, but not as often as one might think. Because I'm always running at like breakneck speed, and always have a time goal in my mind that I don't really have any time to actually like drink water or anything. Because I remember there was this one time, it was not a triathlon, it was more like an open water swim. I was like out in the water for like a couple of hours, and I didn't go for any water stations there. And you know, you might be wondering, oh yeah, there's water stations in an open water race. Well, there's a thing called islands that in the Philippines that we can go to. And sometimes we use these islands as water stations for open water races, and in this one specific open water race, I didn't go for any of the water stations. And I think that was to my detriment, because by the time I ended this race, which lasted like 2 hours in the scorching heat, I noticed that my freaking skin was bleached, my whole face was crumpled up like a raisin. Like pretty much my skin is asking for water or any sort of liquid to be put into my digestive tract. And when I finally, you know, got to my hotel room for this specific race, I was pretty much drop dead and was in bed for like the majority of the day. So yeah, I was, how do I say this? I was not feeling good whenever I go into these races. Training for them, where it was also a completely different experience. This was during, oh wait, what the frick is this? That's not supposed to be the case. Hold on. Hold on, I need to freaking erase some stuff here. There was this one time wherein I would have a hard time sleeping, because I know that what will come next early in the morning would be a very hard workout created by my dad. And it was, I didn't I was always like very scared to sleep during this specific period of my life, because I knew that by the time I woke up I will be doing like a harsh 16-kilometer run or a harsh freaking 500 meter or 400 meter 10 harsh 10 set of 400 meters just to make this specific time in a race. And to be honest, I didn't really like where I was at that time. I was pretty much just scared, fearing for my life what would happen next. And I even told my dad, hey, I don't wanna do this anymore. But he, I don't know, he just told me to push on through. And he said that, hey, it's gonna get better. You just need to learn to love it. You need to learn to like it. This will be pretty good for you by the time you reach an old age. And I am now in that old age, and I still do not understand why my workouts had to be that intense. You Maybe my dad was like planning for me to become like a big athlete back in the day, but it never really came to fruition. And to be honest, I didn't want to become an athlete. I even told my dad, hey, this is not what I wanted to become, and he pretty much ignored my freaking reasoning, and I we just kept doing whatever we were doing. And it's only up until college when he's like, okay, fine, we can do something else for once. And I'm like, yay, finally, we get to do something that I want to do. And now I am taking up a dentistry course with some also running a YouTube channel here on the Vanilla Log. I feel like my greatest strength was always like the school stuff and not the sports stuff, although I do still want to, like, you know, do some sports stuff every now and then. I just figured that, you know, if I want to be intense about anything, it has to be like something related to school and not just, you know, like sports or anything. Okay, there we go. Alright, okay, we got this thing colored up. There we go. Alright. We'll try to finish up the coloring, then maybe we can work on the what's it called? The other outlines in another stream. Again, I'm working on a game here, so my schedule isn't really entirely focused on this one character right now, or on this one animation right now. Hold on, let me just... I think this one's wrong with my phone right now. Okay. Oh wait, shit, I just realized that I started my stream rate. Might have to prepare some dinner at some point here. But I think I still have like 30 minutes to spare, so let's try to do as much as possible in under 30 minutes here. Alright. Okay, there we go. Alright, let's switch topics from sports right now. I want to talk about some shit I've been discovering about my computer. Like Mozilla's incognito mode. Now I know I do sometimes use incognito mode in case I wanna visit websites that I don't want that I don't want popping up in my search history. You know what I'm saying? But I now realize that if I use Firefox for my own daily uses, or specifically the incognito mode of Firefox for my daily uses, I noticed that the algorithm for the websites I visit, like YouTube, do not cater to me anymore. And in a sense, by having that be the situation, I realized that I am now being exposed to new things on YouTube compared to if I were going to be using YouTube on my account. So for example, when I first open up a YouTube in my incognito window, YouTube doesn't recommend me anything at all. Instead, what YouTube tells me to do is just search up anything you want in the search bar, in the search tab, and it will then recommend you stuff that you might want to see in the home page. And this happens every time you open up a new incognito window. So I did this a couple of times, and I noticed that by not relying on the algorithm to recommend me content, I am exposed to now more stuff that might help me in the future, like game engine tutorials or Blender tutorials. Instead of being exposed to things like, I don't know, like some comedy skits or live stream highlights from Twitch. Because while I do enjoy watching those, I sometimes want there to be a space where I can focus and learn about stuff, and I realized that the incognito window is just that thing for me. And to make sure that I am always in that learning state, I put like the Mozilla incognito button on my taskbar and remove the main Firefox button from my Windows desktop. So now by default, whenever I want to open up a web browser, it would always go towards the incognito into the incognito window, right? And on the freaking rather than the freaking default Firefox browser. And I think people should try to do that. If you wanna, if you feel like you're being too distracted by the algorithm on the internet, may it be YouTube or Facebook or Twitter, just open up a freaking incognito window and try to interact with your websites through that. Now, I can't say the same if there are some websites that require you to have a account, but it kind of works on YouTube for me. If I want to find some new stuff on YouTube that isn't just the newest version of Smosh or anything. I just opened up a new incognito window and bam, it's all there. Anything I need is all there. If I want my YouTube feed to just be about news, I just type in news on the search bar of YouTube in the incognito mode, and there it is. It's just my whole feed is just news. Want game engines? Do the same thing. Boom! It's just all game engines. This kind of require you to have at least some idea of what you want to search for. So I think the best setup is if you go onto your main YouTube account and try to see what the algorithm recommends you, and if you catch anything that catches your eye, you try to type down those keywords onto like the incognito version of YouTube, and it'll only recommend those types of content to you rather than giving you some recommended stuff that you might not need. Oh my god. Sorry, just keep on realizing I keep on like facing the wrong direction here. If I, there we go. And then I try to look here. Nope, it's not doing it. Okay, there we go. Maybe I just need to lower my head a bit here. There we go. Okay. I just realized it's missing like a line to separate the glove from the finger here. Alright, let me just paint up some of these That's my okay. Clean up some of these fingers. Oh shoot, I clicked on the wrong button here. Okay, there we go. This is not how it's supposed to look. Hold on. Wrong color. There we go. You know, now that I have these two big projects happening right now, hold on. I have like two projects in the works right now. Two big projects in the works right now specifically. I have to ask myself whether I am putting myself in a stressful situation or not. Because a man can only do so much big projects in one at a time before he, you know, gets too stressed out about it. Because before I only have like one big project to worry about, and I usually split those projects into this one big project into like separate, different, smaller projects. Like for example, the freaking Ass Intelligence video. It was a huge project on my part, but I split it up into 4 different character time-lapse sessions, which are small projects in their own right. And I also did like some background elements into it. But with the specific situation I'm in right now, I have this one big animation here, which will only last around 3 minutes long. But I can't split it up into 4 different projects I can publish into my channel, because these are pretty much just a scene for each of my freaking animation. And then there's also a game that I'm working on, which technically had one small project that I've completed, but after that it's gonna be like one big journey for me to make all of the animation scripts and mechanics for my game. So it's like, oh my god, I have like I have 2 big projects and that I cannot split into smaller projects anymore. So what should I do to keep this more interesting? Part of me thinks that if ever things get too boring for me for these few projects, I can maybe start a smaller project that's not as complicated as this. Maybe start a character designing session for another 3D VTuber I have in mind. Or maybe I should do another music stream wherein I try to make some music, I guess. I don't know. All I'm saying is that I think I put myself in a rut here by dedicating my time to 2 big projects. But luckily for me, I think my game is already on schedule for where it is in its development stage. And this animation here is technically almost done. Maybe I need to like make 4 or 5 scenes left, then it's finished. But we're still leagues ahead of where of this being. But we're still like so. But the completion for these 2 projects are still like in a far off place in the future, I guess. So who knows when this will be done. Although I will be planning to at least get this game I'm making done by the end of the summer, or by the end of July. And then after that, maybe I'll take a break from game development for now. Although that's not to say I'm done with Godot at all, because I did say that there is a VRM add-on I want to try to use in the program. So I'll probably do that after I start making my game. After I finish my game, I mean. And by the way, guys, once I release my game, I'm thinking maybe creating like a beta test for it first, a public beta test for it first, in some place like, I don't know, maybe Newgrounds, but I don't want to put a beta test in Newgrounds because that's where all the quality stuff goes. But I want to try to do like a beta test for it for anyone who wants to try my game, because I want to know if there's any lag for those who are using it in less powerful machines. Because people say that there's like some lag that may happen if you don't use delta time that often. And I did try to apply some delta time to my physics process and all. But I have to question myself, wait, is this too much delta time that I'm using, or is it too less delta time that I'm using? So to figure that out, I'll probably try to publish my game first as a beta test, and you guys can try out. Then if I encounter any problems, I'll try to fix it on my computer. Because up to now, I still don't know how to use Delta for my game. Should I use it for my animations, or should I use it for when my character controls, or should I use it for both? I'm not sure. The way people teach about delta time to me sounds pretty complicated. Although I did hear that for most of the time, delta time is basically just 0.16 seconds. And I did test it out on my computer. I created like a print function for the GD script, and it pretty much matches to what most delta time, to what most others see what delta time is in their debugger. It's just that every now and then, I guess, it switches to 0.2 or 0.3 whenever there's a lag spike. And I did learn that delta time is technically just the time between the previous frame and the current frame. But I'm not a math geek, and I don't know how to use delta to reduce lag for almost all systems, you know. So if you guys have any idea, please go leave a comment on it in the chat. Okay. Another thing I want to try to do in the future, because YouTube has been recommending this to me a lot, is to maybe attend a game jam. Because I heard from Game Maker's Toolkit that he is thinking of maybe making like a game jam at some point at the end of July. And I heard that the game jam is supposed to only take place in under like 4 days, so you have like 4 days of game development to create something for this game jam. And I am thinking of maybe attending, depending on how comfortable I am with Godot by the time we get to that. We'll see. Game jams seem fun. It's also like a good place for me to see how other people develop games in under a short period of time. Though the thing that worries me a lot now is how to develop a game in under 4 days, because I'm developing this one simple game in Godot, and it's taken me like, I don't know, like a week to just get the assets done for this game. And I don't think my assets are even done right now, because I still need to work on the what's it called? I just need to work on the icons for the power-ups that I can collect in this game, as well as making the text, the HUD layout for my main menu. Oh my god, there's so much things to do for this game. It's not that things are hard to make in this game, it's just that I now realize how much time it will take to finish this game. I just need to kind of learn how to be patient and all, and I might eventually get the space shooter released on some site, maybe. Okay, I'm just realizing that it's almost 7 o'clock in my time here, so I think I have to end the stream after this coloring frame here. But, hang on, let me just make a few more adjustments here before we end. Oh, we still have a lot of stuff here. Well, hold on. Let me do this real quickly. Okay, oh, not that. Oh my god, I'm totally messing everything up here. This, and this, okay. Right. Oh, wrong color. Wrong color again. Wrong color. Oh god, what am I doing? Okay. Okay. Alright, one last stroke here. Let's paint up his boots. god. Okay. Clean this up. Alright. So we need strokes here, need to get that loop there. Alright, I think this is it for the stream, guys. I know this is a very short, well, not really a very short stream, but basically nothing of value happens here, but just to prove that everything I did was all done by hand. We've created this little animation here you can watch on the VOD for this channel. And yeah, that's I guess pretty much it for this stream, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you like what you see, be sure to like and subscribe. Again, here's how the animation looks. We'll work on the last few colors here maybe in the next stream. So with that being said, go read the book, guys. Bye-bye. Bye.